Welcome back to the Draftstars NFL Show for Week 16. After having a little holiday break last week, myself and Tom are back for Draftstars NFL action, $20,000 prize pool. Merry Christmas and season greetings to you, Tom.
Yeah, Merry Christmas, Smatho. It was good to have a week off last week, but keen to get back into it.
Oh, look, yes. I was pretty tied up last week. I had a few things on, so I couldn't give the ultimate 100% effort last week. And considering here it's probably the biggest day of the year here on Boxing Day, it's going to be a mad day here on Draftstars. So make sure you get the Draftstars for all your DFS content. Hey, mate, we're just going to get cracking into this show today. Don't worry about the shout-outs and the things like that. We've got 11 games slate, Week 16, $20,000 prize pool. And probably the most interesting thing that you need to do before setting your lineups is checking out the injury news. And here we are, Tom, straight away. Look at these names that are already out. Jackson Huntley for the Ravens, Goff, Bridgewater, he had concussion anyway, Dalton, Cook, Eckler, Fournette, Stevenson, Godwin, Evans, Cooks, Williams, Davis, Beasley, Shenault, Guyton, Aguilar, Robinson, Fryer. The list just goes on and on. In terms of the questionables, Travis Kelce's going to come off COVID list, so hopefully he gets a game. They're trying to get Darren Waller up as well, doubtful. But the main key one there is Damian Harris for the Pats. He's currently minimum price, so we'll talk to him a little bit later. But out of those injury news there, mate, what has affected the slate here for Week 16?
What hasn't affected the slate might be the more crucial question. Obviously it's a mess. Backup quarterbacks in quite a few spots. Down to third and fourth string receivers in a few spots. So pretty hard to keep up with, and I think all we can do is just look at it again later tonight or tomorrow morning and try and get the best read on it then that we can.
Yeah, fair enough. Now, before we get into the games, let's have a look at the schedule for this week. So let me just bring up the 11-game schedule. Stop screen. There we go. I want that one out. You can see I've been prepared after one massive Christmas day last week. Dear, I'm having a Barry Crocker there. Here you go. Downloads.
That's all right. You're out of office by the looks of it.
Yes, I'm up in the old north of Newcastle, so I'm not in the COVID hotspot, by the way. So I'm out of the fire there. Here we go. So lines have changed a little bit here. I think the main one you have to look at is the Bengals game. Their line has gone out to 7 instead of 4.5 on the news that they don't have a quarterback anymore. But high total there between the Rams and the Vikings at 48.5. And then the rest of the games look to be wide spreads with lots of 8s, 10s there.
Yeah, it's a pretty good indication of how things are going with all the low totals. Obviously, teams below full strength, and also weather at this time of the year isn't great for football. So, I guess we're just looking at the favourites in those big spreads, which is about half the games, and then we might be able to pick out a couple of close ones. I think maybe the Broncos game could get interesting as a low total game. Bills Patriots probably going to be ugly, but we'll see what happens.
We'll see what happens. And you got a little sneaky bet for us as well?
Yeah, just on a whim, I'm going to go for the Bears, paying about $3.30. Feeling a bit of Nick Foles magic this weekend, so we'll see.
We'll see. See how we go there. All right, let's get straight in the slate. Now, you will be seeing players here on Draftstars that are currently on the Cove List have been coming up. Hopefully, they'll remove those players. They have been doing that the last couple of slates. So, They'll probably get an update, obviously, coming up soon. So if we start talking about players that are in the pool here, they get COVID, then so be it. But let's start here at quarterback. So I want to start here down the bottom because there's a couple of 8K players who are the backups this week who are getting the nod. The first one here is obviously Nick Foles. He's going to be the starting quarterback at the Bears. Also available this week is Josh Johnson. He's there at 8,000 because Tyler Huntley has COVID, so we can't be playing him. And there are a couple of bums that are down here. We've got here Tyrod Taylor is playing at 8,000, I do believe. And the last one there, I believe, is From. Don't really know much of his work, so it's probably not. Yeah, Jake From for the Giants. So out of those 8K options, is there any interest there?
I'm guessing Johnson is going to play that running style that the Ravens are built around. So that gives us kind of a good idea that he'll have the rushing upside that we always look for in a quarterback. He could be interesting without actually knowing that much about him. And then, I don't know, I guess not that interested in Foles, probably more interested in Tyrod Taylor. We've seen a few good games from him this year. So,
well, let's have a look at the top of the board. Leads by Patrick Mahomes at 16,380. Justin Herbert's there at 15,700. Allen's at 15,300, who's kind of lost a couple of receivers to COVID. And then we've got Stafford, Burrow, Hurts, Brady, and then we won't worry about Tyler. He's not playing. So out of the top of the board, who's your key targets here?
Number one is probably Jalen Hurts. Eagles have kind of gotten their act together a bit, and they still seem to have everyone on board. So pretty good spot for them against the Giants, I think. And then, yeah, obviously usual suspects with Allen, Herbert, etc. Still standing out, but it's hard to ignore the fact that Mahomes still has Hill and Kelsey. Well, we're not sure about Kelsey, but we think he'll have Kelsey. So, yeah, I guess that's a pretty safe stack if we can fit it in.
Excellent. All right. Not mucking around today. Let's move on to running back. Oh, before you go, you had a little sneaky though. I just saw your notes. Who was your sneaky?
Well, off the back of no research and a lot of bias, just have a feeling about my Broncos and Drew Lock this week. I was a big Drew Lock truther before this season, so maybe we'll see a little something.
All right. I'll keep an eye on that one for you. All right, running back. Now, there's a lot of guys here in the 11K range that seem to be in good spots this week. The likes of Patterson, Montgomery, Sanders, Mixon. Ronald Jones is in because obviously Lenny Fournette's out. What else got here? Miles Sanders, as talked about. And even Justin Jackson. Obviously, no Austin Eckler at 11,520. So Draftstars have reacted to that particular news. Is this an area that we could target here for a little bit of value?
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of it there, isn't there? Obviously, Patterson, Mixon, those are probably the two that have done it throughout the season for us and could be popular for that reason. But yeah, I like Montgomery, obviously, on the Bears this week. So I think Sanders has been pretty solid. Yeah, it's going to be hard not to have at least one, maybe two players from that range in your lineup, I think.
If we go back towards the top of the board, no Dalvin Cook, no Austin Eckler. Alexander Madison is actually the most expensive running back this week at 14,690. So it almost nearly pays to pay down this week as well. But the key news here is also what's happening at the Pats because, look, they're all okay. So Brandon Bolden is questionable, but he could possibly play. He's there at 8,000. He's more in the passing game. But then you've got here Damian Harris, who looks like there's been a misquote in price here. Isn't that right, Tom?
Yeah, I guess the expectation was that he wouldn't be right to play. So looks like he's going to, and I think he could be the chalk, especially if Stevenson is definitely out. So And we did see when they played a few weeks ago, I think Patriots threw the ball about 3 or 4 times for the entire game. So I can kind of expect a similar game plan and probably a lot of work for Harris if he's the only running back.
Excellent. Other options that you like in this particular slate, knowing that you probably have you're trying to save money here, really?
Yeah, I think James Robinson, he's not going to save you money, but he could be one that kind of falls through the cracks a little bit at that price, I think. And yeah, obviously that matchup with the Jets, it's probably not as good as it looks on paper, but I think it's just a spot where he could go off with no one on him. And yeah, and then again, a little bit of Broncos favoritism. They've been running the ball just flat out. So more likely than my Drew Lock call is that one of Williams or Gordon have a good day.
Well, it's been going pretty well at 8-7. That's not bad. And obviously Gordon always seems to bobs up as well. So yes, that's not too bad. All right, let's move on. Wide receiver. So I think you have enough money this week to get on the Cooper Cup at 19,720, and I think that most people will see that and like, yep, I'm playing Cooper Cup. Now, obviously, there's a lot of players who are out, especially for the Chargers, who we've got Mike Williams out and they've got, I think, Guyton's out. So is it all aboard Keenan Allen?
Yeah, he's a strong play. Not a lock for me. Probably I'd get more excited about going down to Palmer. Josh Palmer, is it?
Yeah, there he is. Yep.
He did show a bit there a couple of weeks ago in a similar scenario. And obviously the Texans matchup is nice. Got basically the best quarterback you can have throwing the ball to you in fantasy these days. So I think that's a really good spot.
I'm finding this particular spot, apart from the Chargers, there's not much value coming from that COVID injury situation there. So top of the board options then. Obviously Tyreek Hill, Justin Jefferson, Keenan Allen kind of pick themselves. Is there any guys just below that you're looking at?
I might need you to scroll down so I can
you're right.
have a quick look. I'm not sure. I don't love the range. Like, there's probably more cheap guys that I want to have a shot at so that I can fit in Cup, Hill, etc. We talked about the Bills, and Emmanuel Sanders is one of them. That Beasley and Davis are out. Yeah, obviously he's very old and he's been out a bit this season, but could be a little bit of an opportunity there for him. And then a few other spots, like I talked about the Broncos a bit. Jerry Jeudy and Cortland Sutton are both very cheap. Haven't done anything for a long time, so cheap for a reason, but could be a bit of a spot there. And I was looking at Marvin Jones as well down at that price and just saying, Chenault's out. Jets aren't that hard to match up. Surely him and Lawrence have to do something eventually.
Surely. You're going to die this hill. You're starting to run out of weeks, by the way. So
I know. But I just have to keep going. 3 more weeks and then I'll never talk about him again.
All right, tight end. This one seems a bit more self-explanatory. Obviously, Kelsey's trying to get off the COVID list, so we have to keep an eye on that. But essentially, it's just pretty much the top 5, and then everything else kind of falls away from there. So I reckon you need to be saving your money for the top 5 this week.
Yeah, you can't have faith in anyone other than the top 5, but it is priced that way. So personally, I'm happy to have a shot at some 5 or 6K guys if they fit into my stack or as a bring back or whatever. Because tight end just sucks. So if you can't get excited about the top 5, might as well go minimum price, I think.
Yeah. You think the old Gronk is in a good matchup against the Panthers with no Evans and no Godwin?
Yeah, absolutely. And he's, what's that? That's four scores around the 20 mark this season. despite missing a few games, so he's got the upside. Yeah, they're all fine. I just don't think any of them have to be in your lineup.
All right, and finally, let's move on to the defense. It seems to be spots where you have to kind of pick on the quarterbacks, the backup quarterbacks this week. So players like Bengals, Falcons, Eagles seems to be the plays here.
Yeah, pretty hard to come up with anything other than that this week, really, I think.
Excellent. Right, well, I've got a little sneaky team here for the week. No player pool. Everyone's booked out my pool this week. So let's have a look here. So I've got Josh. I'm going to give Josh the go at the min price. Damian Harris as well at 8K, and then Montgomery. I haven't gone Cooper Kupp. I've gone for the three big other wide receivers in Jefferson, Allen, and Hill. I've gone Kyle Pitts at the tight end, and then Joe Mixon there as another running back. And then I think the cheapest one I could afford was the Raiders against your Broncos. So good luck with that.
Now, picking on Drew Lock. Damn it.
Now, also, you can find Tom's article on daily fantasy rankings. That will be up on the site throughout the day. Obviously, kickoff is at 5 a.m. tomorrow morning. So if you're still up and about after a massive Boxing Day today, you've done well. So any final thoughts, Tom, before we let you go?
Just check that injury news again, or COVID news especially, because it could change very easily.
Yeah, I'll be on Daily Fantasy Rankings all day. I'll be updating any injured news that comes through. So make sure you check out our preview later today. Thank you, Tom. Hope you have a cracking Boxing Day, and we'll look forward to seeing you next week with a more full preview next week for Week 17.
Absolutely, yeah. Happy holidays, everyone. Thank you.
Take it easy. See you later.